They treat their phones like a game. They're on Instagram constantly like a game. The mental gymnastics of understanding a narcissist is crazy. And Mr. Freud said it best, narcissism is about ego. They feel very empty inside. They will do everything they can to feel amazing. So that can be very dangerous because they don't care who they hurt in the process. Pod with Meg. Hey guys, it's your girl Meghane Lex, and welcome to your channel. What? Take two.
Roll sound.
Rolling. Sound production, take two.
Hey guys, it's your girl Meghane Lex, and welcome to my channel and podcast, Pod with Meg. Hey. If you're back, you're a nutmeg, and if you're new, unfortunately, you're just a nut. So make sure you come back every week for a new episode of Pod with Meg. Okay? Okay. So today's episode is going to be an interesting one because we're going to talk about narcissism. Yes, I know, this word is overused so much and it's crazy, but yeah, we're gonna talk about it because it's very important to know these things, and I feel like narcissism is becoming more and more prevalent, especially with social media. I was talking about this with someone on set the other day, and they're talking about how like social media and phones have made it so easy for people to think that they can be a celebrity in their own minds, which kind of feeds their narcissism. And yeah, people can live their life like a celebrity, and it's like facts, that's amazing. It's good to have high self-esteem, high self-confidence, but it becomes a problem when you start being selfish. It becomes a problem when it starts getting in the way of your life, your emotions, your relationships. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it. So I actually did my research for this project. Usually I go off experience, off stories, off, the dome, but I took some real life notes. I took some notes about what it is to be a narcissist, the history, previous essays. Like, I'm treating this video like a video essay. So if you came for shits and giggles, yes, you're in the right place. But if you came here to also be mentally stimulated, honey, you're absolutely in the right place. So what are the traits of a narcissist? Let me tell you. So, narcissists need admiration. Think of a narcissist like a ticket, a parking ticket validation. They need it. They need it to go on. They crave it. You can't open the gate unless you get the validation. Like they love getting their ticket scanned, if that makes sense. That's kind of a weird example, but it's the first thing that came to mind. But yeah, they are very grandiose, which is you think you're just the best. Like, do you ever meet those people who are extremely manic and they're like,
I'm amazing, I'm just so amazing.
And it's almost off-putting because it's like, eat a piece of humble pie, like chill out. Narcissistic people think very highly of themselves. They are overly confident. They think that they are just the best of the best. A lot of people who are in high powerful positions are like this. They think that because they have money, they can just get away with everything. And this is very much so a trait of a narcissist. They think that they're very important. They have a feeling of self-importance. I don't know why, but I'm thinking of people who buy blue check marks because I'm like, why do you feel the need to feel so important? Like, why do you feel the need to feel validated? And it's actually so funny. I feel like you can look at someone's Instagram and probably guess whether or not they're a narcissist because you can kind of see how they want the world to view them. And a narcissist wants the world to view them as a perfect person. They want to be viewed as perfect. Whenever anyone kind of tarnishes their image of perfect, they feel very attacked. They feel very uncomfortable. And what I've gathered is it's a self-centered personality disorder where people find it almost impossible to feel removed from themselves. But it's weird. A lot of narcissistic people love to get energy from others, but it's because they're almost sick of themselves. They're so in their own heads that they are constantly looking for distractions, but they really, in the end, are very selfish people, very self-centered. A lot of narcissistic people believe that others are inferior to them. They think that they're the smartest, they're the coolest, no one can be on their level. I know this one person who will go on rants on their stories. I won't say which platform because that might give it away. I know this one person that would go on their Snapchat stories and rant about how they're better than people can't drive, people are not smart. And I was like, oh my gosh, he really believes he's better than everyone else. But yeah, some people really believe that others are inferior to them. They believe that they're the best. And it comes from an insecurity because you have to think about it. If someone is putting someone else down, they don't feel that good about themselves. Because someone who is happy with themselves, they're not going to put other people down. You know what I mean? They're not going to feel the need to do that because they're happy within themselves. Another trait of a narcissist is they lack empathy for others. This to me is one of the scariest traits. I was actually talking about this on my podcast with Takira, the Takira Takeover podcast episode. Check it out. I'm going to insert in that clip.
How long were you with that person for?
Ladies, don't be like me. I was with that person for 4 years.
Wow. And that's how long they say it usually takes to really get to know someone. So you really think you saw the ins and outs of that person?
Yes. And I feel like sometimes people's true colors don't show up until they're like going through something that's really testing them. You can't really see somebody's character unless like they're going through something that makes them uncomfortable, I feel.
That is so true. And I feel like guys can be so avoidant sometimes.
Girl.
When it comes to feelings, literally, I know this guy that if I even bring up anything remotely emotional, he avoids eye contact. It's wild.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's really weird.
Really weird, right? Almost sociopathic.
I'm not going to diagnose them, but possibly. Like, honestly, I get worried when people show me that they, like, lack empathy or comfortability with showing emotions. Because I'm like, if you can't make a safe space for me, I know you're not making a safe space for yourself. So.
Period.
Yeah.
Because if you don't love yourself, how can you love anyone else?
You're not going to.
And if you're not enough for yourself, no one is going to be enough for you.
Hot tea. Hot tea.
You better clock that tea, clock it.
Yeah, yikes. But some people really lack empathy, and that is still something I'm struggling with while understanding this because But it kind of makes sense. When you're so self-centered, you're so wrapped up in your own head and your own world, you just don't have it in yourself to look outside yourself, you know what I mean? When you're so wrapped up in yourself and your insecurities, it's almost impossible to be empathetic because you're not even nice to yourself. Because to get love, you have to give love to others. If you don't give love to others, you're not going to give love back. And that's why a lot of narcissistic people are lonely because they're not giving people love and they expect that back. But no, you have to give to receive. Think about it like this. A narcissistic person is like one character. They literally only value themselves really, but that value that they put into themselves makes them feel so lonely in the end. And since they're not able to give love, they're not able to receive love, which in turn makes them feel very empty inside, if that makes sense. Whew, the mental gymnastics of understanding a narcissist is crazy. A lot of narcissistic people also are envious of others because, like I said, deep down they're very insecure, they're very lonely because they're wrapped up in their own world. And so, yeah, they're actually envious of others because they are constantly searching for more. They're constantly searching for validation. When you are constantly looking for validation and not realizing that it's actually within yourself, you're never going to be satisfied because no one's going to give you the love that makes you feel good like the love you give yourself. And speaking of this, let's actually go back a little bit into Greek mythology. Oh yeah, this is low-key a history lesson, guys. According to Ovid's Greek mythology, Narcissus was the man who fell in love with his own reflection. He also had many potential lovers, and one of the lovers he rejected, the nymph Echo, she was basically someone who just echoed sounds, and so she cursed him and made him fall in love with his own reflection in like a river. And when he realized that the reflection couldn't love him back, because literally it's just himself. We're just kind of like facing yourself in a mirror. There's no growth. Nothing's changing because, you know what I mean? It's like you can't marry yourself. What? You already are. And so when the object of his love couldn't love him back, he dies. And that is a very interesting and telling story because at the end of the day, when you love yourself, that's amazing. But when you only love yourself, what a lonely life to live. What a lonely life to live. Think about how many fun times you have with your friends, your family members. Yes, it's nice to have alone time, but imagine being alone for the rest of your life. You would be very lonely. You would not hear about new experiences. Like, I love hearing about stories my friends tell me. I love going to work and being around people. I could technically work by myself and, just talk to a screen all day, but that would not be interesting because I would have no new stories. I would have no love stories, no stories about crazy things happening because it would be so lonely. So I think it's very important to remember that. So let's talk about the philosophers, the writers, the people who really dissected narcissism. One of the people who really dissected narcissism is Ernest Jones in his 1913 essay, The God Complex. The God Complex. I ain't talking religion, baby, but I'm a god. Yeah. So Ernest Jones claims that extreme narcissism is a character trait. Basically, character traits like aloof, overly confident, autoerotic, omniscience or omniscience. I don't know how to pronounce this, which is someone who thinks they know everything, or omnipotence, someone who feels like they need unlimited power or they have unlimited power. And omniscience is very interesting to me because I know a lot of people who constantly feel the need to be right all the time, and it's honestly the most annoying thing being around them. Have you ever been around someone who's constantly correcting you, constantly feels like they need to be right, constantly feels like they know everything? It's so... And they make you feel less than because they want to make you feel inferior so they can feel superior because it's their insecurity inside. They feel the need to put you down to make them feel better. It's like a selfish, self-centered trait where you just want to feel like the best. And that's why they're villains, because it's like you want to kind of overrule and take over and be the only one. Not even just the head bitch in charge, but the only bitch in charge. And that's scary because you're trying to get rid of everyone else. And yeah, they find a lot of people threatening because you don't want to be around someone who knows more than you. That makes you feel inferior. You know what I mean? So yeah, the God complex is definitely a real thing. A lot of people feel like they're better than everyone. They know everything. And in the end, you don't. Like, you really don't. There's so many things I know I don't know. I don't know how to really pronounce omniscience or omniscience. And that's okay. Life is about growing and learning. You're literally going to stunt your own growth if you are arrogant. You know what I mean?
On Narcissism, an Introduction is a foundational paper by Sigmund Freud. Primary narcissism is a normal phase in child development where the child's libido is focused on self, serving as a survival mechanism. The ego becomes the seat of the self-preservative instincts, while objects outside the ego become the focus of sexual energy.
Sigmund Freud, one popular man, a popular philosopher, as you will, he claims that narcissism is driven by libido, and the way he explained it, literally, it expanded my mind like no other. But basically, he says that it starts from when you're a child. They relate to themselves in the world through megalomania, which is so funny. Me, hi. And megalomania is basically delusions of grandeur. Wow. And basically an obsession with power and domination over others. And people who are narcissistic, they have a very different view of the world. They kind of see themselves outside of the world, if that makes sense. They see themselves kind of as the center of the universe. And they have to feed into these delusions, the megalomania, to be the center of their own universe. Because to be the best of the best in your own universe, you have to really convince yourself. You have to lie to yourself sometimes. A lot of narcissistic people believe their own lies, which is why when they tell a lie so quickly, it's because they have trained themselves to believe their lies to be the best of the best in their own head. And that's why perfection is not real. So many people try to attain perfection through artificial ways. Like, it's just a fact, and it's just not real. Like, yes, it can be beautiful, it can be amazing, but it's just not real because perfection is not real. No one can be perfect. So for someone to feel perfect, they have to literally lie to themselves and others, and that could be a very dangerous thing.
Freud argues that in various mental disorders, such as schizophrenia and hypochondria, there is a retreat of libido back to the ego and away from external objects.
And Sigmund Freud also noted that these people withdraw interest from the real world, people and things, because they live in their own delusional world where they're the best of the best, they're perfect. So in order to do that, they have to withdraw interest from other people. And again, this is blowing my mind because have you ever been around someone who is constantly on their phone when they're around you? It's like they're scared to literally talk to you. It's like...
He further hypothesizes that narcissism plays a role in other conditions, like paranoia or melancholia, where libidinal investments in objects become disrupted.
Like, think about those people who are constantly on their phones when you're hanging out. Clock it. They're literally withdrawing interest from you, the real world, because the phone, that's not real world. It's literally like a game. They treat their phones like a game. They're on Instagram constantly like a game. They're withdrawing interest from the real world because they can't really attach themselves to anything real, because that will fight their delusion. If they attach themselves to anything real, it will fight their delusions. It will attack their world where they're perfect, they're the center of it. So they really withdraw interest from the real world. And Mr. Freud said it best, narcissism is about ego. They have so much ego and they have so much love for themselves, and that turns into an ego libido. Crazy. And narcissistic people are so selfish, so self-centered that they express it outwardly, and this manifests into an ego libido. And basically, this is the quote where he explains that the libido that has been withdrawn from the external world has been directed to the ego, and thus gives rise to an attitude which may be called narcissism. And so people who are narcissistic are autoerotic because they already have so much love for themselves. It manifests into automatically being sexually driven, if that makes sense. Like, they're so obsessed with themselves that they project that onto others. Like, oh, I love myself, I'm the best, that you think I'm the best too, if that makes sense. So they're already aroused. Like, they're so into themselves, it makes them aroused. Because think about it. When you really, really, really like something or someone, it makes you aroused. If you really like food, you can have a foodgasm. If you really like someone, you can, just have a regular orgasm. Like, when you really, really like something, it goes into that side of the spectrum. And just like narcissism and libido, it can be a spectrum. You can either be basic level, normal level, where you have a good level of self-esteem, high self-esteem, and then you become pathological, where you just become automatically aroused because you just think you're amazing and you think everyone else thinks you're amazing. So you just become a highly sexual person because you're just so in love with yourself and you think everyone else does too. And people who are very sexual are people who are not very emotionally attuned. And just like narcissists who had a lot of potential partners, people who have a lot of partners technically have zero, if that makes sense. Our brains are not programmed to have a lot of options. And I know a lot of people are polygamous and might not agree, but we're traditionally programmed to, get married, have kids, have a life with someone, be happy. But when you have a lot of potential partners, you're going away from that. You're going away from the traditional, you're creating all these options that it just becomes one big blur instead of having one clear vision, one clear person to focus on and build a life with. Because if someone focuses on one person, that attacks their world. That means, oh my gosh, I might love this person more than I love myself. That means that the narcissist is not going to be the center of their own universe. So they have to create all these people, all these potential partners, so that it's kind of like they're NPCs at that point. No one's special. It doesn't matter who it is. Like an extra in the film. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. You're just kind of there in the background. Fill the background for me. I'm still the center of my universe. These are just extra people. They don't matter. It's like a dime a dozen. So being in a relationship with one person is very threatening to a narcissistic person, because that means that they're going to have to channel all of the love they have into themselves into one single person. And that is so scary, because when you have a bunch of different people, you can give, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. But when you have one person, that makes it scary. That means that they have to learn about that person. That means that they have to detach from their own delusions about themselves. That means that they have to give away their obsession with power. Because think about it, when you love someone, you become powerless. And that is so scary for a narcissist. So scary. So yeah, a lot of narcissistic people are technically avoidance because they avoid love that goes away from themselves. They avoid true love because that's threatening to themselves. Yeah, superficial love is okay, alright, like one night stands, whatever, but a true, meaningful love, that will literally rock their world. Another theory by Robert Wadler from 1925 is he defines narcissism as a personality trait, which is similar to what I said earlier. People feel no empathy, they're condescending, they feel superior, and they're obsessed with admiration. And Dr. Robert noticed this in his patient who was a successful scientist, and he described him as aloof, independent from others, obsessed with self-respect, superiority complex, no normal feelings of guilt, selfish sexually, valued abstract intellectual thought over practical science. Valuing abstract thought. Have you ever met someone who is so enamored by their way of thinking that they want you to believe what they're thinking? And it's like, Just because you believe that doesn't mean I have to believe that too. It's almost cultish. But yes, I love the way Dr. Robert gave a real life example of his patient. I don't know if that breaks code or anything, but yeah, this scientist sounds like a narcissist. Being independent from others, selfish sexually, no normal morale or feelings of guilt. They want to feel like they're the smartest people ever. So they're obviously going to overly be logical so that they can feel smarter than everyone. And also, this is new, condescending. I feel like a lot of people who are narcissists are very condescending because they don't want anyone to threaten their delusion, their grandiose delusion. They don't want anyone to rock their perfect world. You know what I mean? And Karen Horney, in 1939, she said that narcissism is on a spectrum from a healthy self-esteem state to a pathological state, where people can just become liars because they believe their own lies and delusions. People can become dangerous because they're so selfish. It's kind of like when people say they step on other people's toes to get to the top. That's kind of like a narcissist. They will do whatever they have to get to the top. They don't care who they hurt. They just want everyone to get out of their way so they can feel like the queen bee. They want to be the best, so they will literally put everything to the side to feel like the best. They will do everything they can to feel amazing. So that can be very dangerous because they don't care who they hurt in the process. I also saw this quote that it can be self-serving for all domestic abusers. And that makes a lot of sense because when you're selfish, you can be very emotionally and physically abusive because, again, you don't care who you hurt. So yeah, a narcissistic person can be very scary. And in conclusion, there are a lot of cons. A lot of those cons include functional impairment, psychosocial disability, abusive emotionally and physically, unstable relationships, loneliness. Think about narcissists and how he couldn't get the love he wanted back and he died. It's like how a lot of people say it's lonely at the top, but honestly, it's only lonely if you're a narcissist. If you everyone over on your way to the top, yeah, it's going to be lonely at the top. But if you are mindful, empathetic, kind to others, treat people the way you want to be treated, then you will live a happy life. You will have peace because you did not disrupt anyone else's peace. You did not cause anyone to feel bad because you wanted to feel good. A narcissistic person will literally change the script so that they feel like they're the best. And it's very scary. It's very scary, and it's very important that you watch out for the signs of a narcissistic person. And just be very mindful, be very cautious, watch out for the red flags. Check out my podcast, Red Flags. That's kind of similar to this one a little bit. But yes, I've been wanting to make this podcast for a while, so I'm glad that I'm able to finally make this video and put it out. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of you guys. Comment down below what you guys want to see next. I have so many videos lined up and planned, so I can't wait to release those. And yeah, stay tuned for new vlogs, story times, live streams. You can check out my live streams in the live stream tab on YouTube. I go on live stream every single day, so you can check me out. It's at a random time. I try to go either in the morning or at night, or sometimes during the day if I'm getting ready for a photo shoot, audition, music video, whatever it is, podcast. So yeah, stay tuned. See you all very soon. And follow me on all my social media at Meghane Lex. Give this video a big and juicy thumbs up.
Hands up in the air. I just want the baddest bitch in the world.
And subscribe. And turn on your notifications. And yeah, I love you all. Have a great night, day, evening, afternoon, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. Bye, nutmegs. Toodles. Bye for now. Hey, all right, yeah. Hey, if you're back, but sometimes I need some water. Hey, if you're back, you're a nutmeg, and if you're new, wait, no. So I wrote some notes in my new journal. How cute is she? It says, be the change that you wish to see in the world in like tiny letters. And it comes with a locket. It's so cute. This is the locket it comes with, and you can literally lock it with the key. It's so cute. I've never had a diary I can actually lock. This is iconic. I have so many videos lined up and planned, and they're obsessed with right because no one can give you. Ooh, and yeah. When you have one person, that makes it scary.